Hello. Hey guys. What's going on? Hey, Mr. Guyton here. Yeah. So where the heck am I now, right? Well, I just thought for this particular chapter coming up, chapter 3, and especially chapter 4 as well, that the church, it's largely about social interaction, social engagement. So what better than a Latin American plaza to see a lot of different interaction going on. So I've traveled a lot in this part of the world, and of course the plazas are always the center of social interaction and exchange. Yeah, so that's what chapter 3 is a lot about, and it gives you a lot of terms to talk about how this interaction is so important for we humans, right? We are social animals at our core, and we always have been. And our survival has been so much bent around us working with each other and cooperating with each other. And it's just so much of a part of who we are, not just as a functional thing, to interact economically, to interact in practical ways that we can work together, but even emotionally, right? We have a lot of strong emotional connections with each other. And so this is some of the things that are uniquely human. There's a lot of animals out there that do work in groups and cooperate in groups, but we do it more than anyone. So that's why we have a couple of chapters to talk about social interaction and, just how deep it runs with us and how a big part of socialization it is for us. So that term, we haven't really had it on the test yet, but it's everything you learn, everything you take in, right, as a human being, in order to learn what you need to learn about your culture, your society. And so there's a lot of people that, come into the picture here when you are developing your own socialization. First and foremost, of course, is your family, right? Your immediate family for us, very important in American society. And for some families, extended family is also important. But we also have secondary groups, we call them, right? Like friends, like co-workers. Friends and co-workers, as we get older, certainly they even have more influence on us. And then also mass media. It's a big part of socialization for Americans, and a lot of people in the West, because we've become such a televideo culture that it has a lot of influence on us. So yeah, that's what we're talking about. I mean, the reason you are who you are is because of all of this very unique influence that you have incurred and you have taken in and made it a part of who you are. So, what sociology often wants to remind you of is you don't have a lot of choices in really developing who you are. You have some choices, sure, but most of who you become is that unique set of people who you have interacted with in your particular life. And that unique family that you're brought up in, that unique subculture, that unique area of the country that you're born in, right? And then the unique friends and neighbors that you go on to interact with all have a strong influence on you. And we like to think of ourselves as Americans as so independent, right? And that, yes, I carve out my own personality, I carve out my own goals, and I set my own path in life. I determine who I am. Well, a lot of that's just not true. We like to think that about ourselves, and again, we do make decisions about who we want to be. But by and large, it's the people who we interact with and the family we're growing up in, the community we spend time with, they shape so much of who we are. And so you'll see terms in there like, for instance, looking glass self is a good one. Looking glass is an old word for mirrors, right? So when people would look in the mirror, they would look in the looking glass. And so, yeah, that's what they're saying there is we learn a lot about our identity and who I think I am through the eyes of other people. Other people are telling us who we are. and in very subtle ways and sometimes very direct ways. But the interaction, the communication, the nonverbal communication that we are picking up from other people is telling us, they like that about me. They don't like that about me, okay? So maybe I'll do more of that and less of that kind of behavior. Wow, that's the way people see me, huh? So they describe me in that way. Isn't that interesting? So we're processing all this feedback, right? It's a lot of serious feedback about who we are as individuals and what people think about us. So what people think about us is a big part of how we come to see ourselves. So again, we don't always want to admit that, but that's the truth. And another term in the chapter, like generalized other, that we step into a lot of roles in society. Whether I'm playing a mother role now or a father role, whether I'm playing a role at work, I am the electrician, I am the nurse, I'm the teacher, whatever it is, we know what those rules carry, and they carry a certain expectations of behavior, a certain attitude, a certain demeanor. So it's funny how we humans may not have that personality that fits that job when we first start it, but we quickly develop it because we know that's what's expected of us. So we do. So we generalize the other. We think, what do people want to see in a professor of anthropology, for instance? And then we often try to give it to them. And often when we go to meet somebody, like I'm going to go meet this computer scientist, or I'm going to go meet this waiter at a restaurant, I have certain expectations of their behavior just based on the roles that they're playing. So, this is, again, something we should admit to ourselves, that really we are social animals, and that this interaction is helping to define who we are. And we are defining other people as well. So we should keep that in mind as well. The feedback that we give other people is important to them. They're listening, even though they may say they're not, sometimes like, oh no, what he said to me doesn't matter, or I can take, negative comments, no problem. Well, you better think twice about that, because people typically do take what other people say about them seriously. Again, it's a two-way street, right? All of this social interaction. So that's what we're saying here, in this chapter. Let's look deeply, let's take more of a deep dive into this social interaction and just see how important it is to humans. Okay? Enjoy it, guys. And I'm going to go back to enjoying this wonderful plaza here and all the interaction that's going on. Okay, I'll see y'all on the next one, okay? Bye.